Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about Lake Lanier in Georgia. First things first, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know if it is when I post. Giveaway possibly at the end of August. Alright, so let's get into it. So first things first, shout out to 11 Alive on YouTube and Comedy Hype for the clips and videos I will be using. Everything is fair use. All right. The lake was created over a black community or town. There is a graveyard literally under this lake, you guys. Swimmers claim that they nearly drowned, saying they were sucked into the water. All right, the town that is beneath the surface of this lake is called Oscarville, Georgia. There were 58 landowners. This lake was created in 1950. The community still sits intact beneath the surface. Families, buildings, schools, churches, so many things are underneath this lake, you guys. Like, literally, it is crazy to think about. There are literally like trees that are like over 60 feet beneath the surface. This town was bustling, all right? It was a metropolis of beautiful black people that were farmers, carpenters, school teachers, religious leaders. Like, it was a bustling town that was, let's just say, a threat to its counterparts. All right, so let's get into these articles. Hope you guys enjoy, but we'll get into some final thoughts after these articles.
It was built in the 1950s to provide drinking water and hydroelectric power for Atlanta. Recreation was an afterthought.
As they were building the lake, they raised the water level up to a certain point well below what we know of today as full pool, and then stopped filling the water.
From there, construction crews floated on the lake, cutting off the trees about halfway.
So today, those stumps are still there, and they're tall because this was forest land and farmland.
Also beneath the surface, old homes, barns, even a racetrack, which famously surfaced during the 2007 drought. You could see the tops of the stands, a haunted memory, waiting for spectators to show up for the next race. It's all good now, but when the next drought comes...
When that does, everyone needs to use extreme caution on the lake.
The Forsyth or Hall County dive teams respond to every rescue and recovery call.
Generally within the first hour, we're in what we call rescue mode. We're hoping that we can rescue someone.
No, I don't want to lose a diver.
Divers deal with frigid temperatures, near zero visibility, and all of those underwater hazards.
The bridges are like the trash bin for anyone traveling down the roads. They blew the old bridges in place, so you have concrete, rebar.
The divers work in teams, one person in the water and the other on the shore. They're tethered together by a rope and communicate by tugs on the rope. Divers say they never know what they're going to find.
It's bad enough that you got a loss of life, but you see their grieving family. And that's really why we do this. I couldn't imagine as a father, as a brother, as a son, to see one of my loved ones disappear and have to go by this lake every day and just wonder. That, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
That is a tough thought to deal with. Yeah. So the biggest takeaway from our day with the dive teams, always wear a life jacket, even if you are an amazing swimmer.
Yeah, that's right. And there are so many hazards and deep drop-offs. You never know what's beneath that surface.
Story all new at 5:30. We are taking a closer look at an all-black town in Georgia called Oscarville.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about this on social media for the last few years, and if you haven't heard of it, it's probably because it no longer exists. It's buried under Lake Lanier. 11 Alive's Latasha Gibbons has more.
When we started working on this story, we set out to track down descendants of Oscarville. Weeks later, we found a family who could trace back their roots 4 generations. They shared with us stories that were handed down about what the all-black town was like, including the night that led to its destruction. It was set on fire by night riders after they say a white woman was raped. Then later, it was covered by the body of water we now know as Lake Lanier. May Crow is buried here at this Gainesville cemetery, but the trail of destruction following her death stretches into the land surrounding Forsyth County, buried beneath these waves of Lake Lanier. where in 1912, nearly every black resident was forced out. That includes people living in an old black town called Oscarville. The community was formed in the late 1800s during the Reconstruction era.
There was a very strong community feeling among the blacks. About 300 children that went to some of the schools that were the black schools, and it was closely connected to the churches.
Georgia history teacher Lisa Crosby says Oscarville was a thriving black community, full of carpenters, blacksmiths, and bricklayers, but farming was the top trade.
So they really had kind of a miraculous farming growth here while the rest of the state was really struggling.
But then residents were abruptly forced off their land.
Well, the flashpoint, I think, is 1912.
This takes us back to the death of May Crow. The 19-year-old white woman was found dead in the woods near Oscarville, presumably after being raped.
Typically, the answer to white girls being raped was go to the black community and just start blaming people.
By nightfall, terror began to reign over Oscarville.
So from there, the rage and hatred in the community, mobs got together and they were called night riders, and they were riding throughout Oscarville and driving out the black community.
And the night turned deadly. You know, they were waking up by fires outside, fire bombs thrown in the church.
Filmmaker Bob Mackey recaptures those horrific nights in an upcoming television series.
Anytime anything happened, guess where everyone would go? To the church. Well, they attacked the church. People were hung, lynched.
Mackey's series features stories of direct descendants like George Rucker, who can trace his family back 4 generations to Oscarville. He tells the story of his great-grandfather, Bert Oliver, and the entire family being forced off their land.
Night riders came through. They had to leave everything. The main thing they left was property, and my grandfather had 100 acres.
Rucker says many relatives died as they tried to flee.
So when they got to the Chattahoochee River, from what I understand, they were told, when the mob got up on the bridge, they were told that they either had to swim or drown. Most of them didn't make it. My grandfather, one of them that did make it, he lost some brothers and sisters.
He says his relatives who survived settled in Gainesville.
From what my mother told me, Bert Oliver, he would sit and tell her this story, and he would just sit and cry.
Crosby says whites in the area took over the remaining properties. She says Oscarville farmers were specifically skilled in raising poultry, which set the pace for Gainesville eventually becoming poultry capital of the world.
You have a farm already going, and you had free land, so you just take it.
Rucker says his great-grandfather married his second wife, Beulah, and they built this school that still stands in Gainesville today. By the late 1950s, the Beaufort Dam was built and Lake Lanier was formed, covering up Oscarville and swallowing most of its history. Many believe Lake Lanier is haunted because of the high number of drownings. We spoke to officials who tell us because there is an entire town that includes structures and even forest areas with trees that are 60 feet tall, it makes it more difficult to navigate through, and someone can easily become trapped in debris, leading them to drowning. We have so much more on this story on our website.
Basically, this town was covered by these just good old boys that just couldn't wait to destroy this town, all right? They've literally burned down the town over a lie, similar to how they did the St. Louis River front. That used to be a town, basically where the arch is. But that's a story for another time, all right? So let's get into it. All right, I feel like Oscarville could have been an amazing black metropolis, better than Atlanta, I think, in my opinion, you know, probably before its time, you know what I mean? Lake Lanier has trees that stand 60 feet deep. 60 feet deep. So, it's, you know, it's deeper than that. Just the thought about that is crazy to me. Literally, look at this, y'all. They lied to these families about giving them what they needed for them to be comfortable, and they just lied to get what they wanted and forced these families out. It's so sad. It's disgusting. All right, so let's get into it. Why would anyone want to swim here or like frolic in this crazy haunted lake if you think about it? Like, just look at these beautiful black families. Like, this is just sad and crazy. Like, but seriously, think about it. When they rescue in the, in the clip before, it said they respond immediately, like within like the first hour. And look at this, literally a lie. And this was before, DNA tests and everything like we have now. Like, it was just word of mouth and racist times, you know what I mean? But yeah, they get rid of a black town when there was so much land they could have used. Literally, there was so much more land they could have used. Literally. They didn't want to, though. Why do people still come here? Like, I genuinely want to know. Like, why? Why? I don't understand. Do people not do research on places that they go anymore? And it's crazy. I looked on Google as I was looking for screenshots and like things about this lake and everything. And it's like the first thing that pops up is like top 10 things you could do like near this lake or like in the water of the lake. Like, it is creepy as hell. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're notified as soon when I post it up to date. Bye.